As of 2:30 Eastern time, I'd say there's probably a 55 to maybe 60% chance that the lows we saw this morning are the final lows in this correction. Interestingly enough, on the S&P 500, about a 5% correction, which happens on average about every 1.1 years. These corrections are absolutely normal, natural, and healthy in an ongoing bull market, which, as I have shared with you for months, my research continues to say this is an ongoing bull market because my medium to longer term research says the markets can be higher in 3 to 6 months. So the emotional herd right now is feeling, unfortunately, like absolute garbage. They're swearing off investing. They're never going to do it again. They aren't even talking about investing with their spouses. They don't want them to know how much money they lost. These people bought high and sold low. They're not talking about it with their buddies. They don't want them to know how much money they've lost. They're hiding under a rock, and they are clinging on for dear life in the corner in the fetal position. This is the emotional herd, those cows in the bottom of the valley. Meanwhile, the cowboys and the cowgirls, the men and women on the top of the valley looking down and watching the emotional herd the entire time are laughing because they knew that this was a normal, natural, healthy correction. They could see the emotional herd selling. And what did the smart people do over about the last 2 days? They bought their core favorite holdings with any cash that they had available. This morning at the low of the market, the CNN Fear and Greed Index was down to 6. This afternoon, it had already doubled up to 12. If you are tired of being the emotional herd, those cows that just run around and follow the trend, do what the financial news shows and social media tells them to do, if you are tired and you want to escape the herd, I agree with you. It's time. Reach out to me. One of the reasons that I started out by saying that this morning's bottom could possibly be the bottom of this correction is, again, at least as of 2:33, anything can change by the close of the market, but we were rocking a unconfirmed one-sided up day. We had 84% of the issues, companies were higher at that time, and 81% of the volume was higher at that time. Recall my video from a day or two ago where I said one of the really good signs that the selling can be over and that buyers are back and energized and that we generally head off higher into the sunset would be to get 2 one-sided up days. Let's see how the data is at 4 o'clock Eastern when the market closes. That is all that matters, but this is a great step forward. Now, this is not a signal for me to buy now. My signal was to buy earlier when I was a buyer. I don't really want to be a buyer now. I certainly don't want to be a buyer when the herd, finally wakes up and realizes, oh my gosh, I'm getting left behind all over again. I bought high and sold low, but now I've got to catch up and buy high again. Oh my gosh, I hate this game, but I got to buy back in. That is not the time to buy. That's the time to sit back and enjoy and allow the emotional herd to make you rich. How the S&P 500 SPX finishes the day, in my opinion, will also be very, very important. At least as of 2:31 Eastern Time, the S&P 500 was erasing the unconfirmed breakdown below 6,636. If by the end of the day we can close above 6,636, that would, for the day, erase the unconfirmed breakdown. We would be back in that short area of the confirmed breakdown back up at 6,696, but that would be a great step forward. Nothing has to happen. If the S&P 500 closes below 6,636 today, that could be a more bearish sign. If it closes even lower than that, even more bearish. So watch these lines and see what happens by the end of the market today. In my opinion, the other commodities aren't worth discussing today, but on natural gas, I did earlier this afternoon take really nice profits on my remaining 1/4 of my original natural gas trade. Congratulations if you were in this trade with me. Remember how long we held on to this trade and I was negative? Sold it nicely positive, doing really well. I sold it not necessarily because I think that natural gas can fall from here. It could, it doesn't have to, but I sold it because if the sell-off in the stock market does continue, I wanted to generate some cash to be able to buy in at even lower prices. And I was happy just to take the rest of the gains from my natural gas trade off the table. As of 2:18 Eastern Time, making an unconfirmed breakout above $4.40 a cubic foot and confirming the breakout above $4.21 a cubic foot. So all bullish things for natural gas. I am now completely out of my long natural gas trade, and I do still hold my short natural gas trade, which yes, I'm underwater on at the moment. That's fine because I don't think natural gas rises a ton from here. I'm happy to hold on to that short position and maybe even add to it. So continue to watch this channel. This is not investment advice, and if you don't know me, I'm John Crocker, professional investor, proud American, cigar lover, and owner of Crocker Capital, LLC.